Welcome to The Explainer. So today, we're taking a look at a genuinely fascinating piece of source material, essentially an ancient blueprint for modern living. We often think of ancient texts as being purely spiritual, or, let's be honest, kind of disconnected from our daily grind. But today's source totally proves that wrong. We're going to explore a highly structured, brilliantly logical system for human behavior that has the potential to transform not just our individual lives, but the entire way our society functions.
Okay, let's dive into this. I want you to completely reimagine the word religion for a second. Just entirely strip away the sectarian divides, the boundaries, the different colors and flags. What if true righteousness was simply a universal code of conduct? Well, today we are unpacking Lord Manu's 10 characteristics of Dharma, and as you'll see, it's a concept that radically redefines what it actually means to live a good life.
Here is our agenda for today. We'll start with Dharma as a universal lifestyle. Second, control over oneself. Third, peace and harmony in society. Fourth, knowledge, intellect, and truth. And finally, we'll wrap up with the universal path to peace.
Section 1. Dharma, a universal lifestyle.
Right off the bat, our source text points out something incredible. It notes that Lord Manu defines Dharma not as some sectarian religion or mezhab, but as 10 universal characteristics of human conduct. Think about what that means. It implies that even someone who follows absolutely no specific religion can be highly righteous, a true practitioner of Dharma, simply by adopting these 10 behavioral traits. It's practically 100% about action.
Section 2. Control over oneself.
So the first 4 of these 10 pillars are entirely internal. We've got patience, or dharya, mental control, dham, purity, shauch, and sense control. The idea here is that before we can go around fixing society, we have to start by mastering our own minds and bodies. Without these foundational building blocks, the rest of the structure just completely collapses. Let's look a little closer at patience.
Now, what's really interesting here is this incredibly punchy quote from Mahatma Gandhi that's referenced in the text. He said, "Haste is atheism." Just let that sink in for a second. Rushing, panicking, acting impulsively, it's framed as a total lack of faith in the natural order of things.
The text explains that haste brings pure chaos. Without patience, we rush, we panic, we make terrible, reactive decisions that lead to massive disasters, violent fights, and tragic, impulsive acts like suicides. It's a literal whirlwind of destruction. But when we step back, when we just take a breath and engage with patience, we allow for calm, harm-free decision-making. We actually think before we act, preventing all that sorrow and chaos.
Moving on to the pillar of purity. The source brilliantly contrasts the physical with the mental. Outer purity, keeping our physical bodies clean, that's absolutely essential to prevent physical diseases like ringworm and smallpox. We need that to stay physically healthy. But inner purity, that is strictly required for inner peace. It acts as a shield against the highly contagious mental diseases of malice, deceit, and vanity. You really need both to be truly healthy.
And this brings us to sense control and mental control. There's a great quote from the Gita in our text. Uncontrolled senses are our biggest enemy, but controlled senses are our greatest friend. The human mind is just endlessly restless, isn't it? It constantly craves delicious tastes, lost endless entertainment, ultimate comfort, and if you leave those cravings unchecked, they'll eventually push humans to commit unimaginable sins just to satisfy them. Mastering those urges, learning to be content with little, that is the true mark of a free person.
Section 3. Peace and harmony in society.
Now we expand outward into the interpersonal pillars. We have forgiveness, or kshama, non-stealing, asteya, and non-anger, akrodh. The text positions these 3 behavioral traits as the direct antidotes to societal strife. They are exactly what cures the bitter rivalries and sectarian clashes we see so often in the world.
And this brilliantly illustrates the stark contrast between revenge and forgiveness. Taking revenge, it never actually erases a rivalry. Instead, it acts like a spark of fire spreading chaos in a dry forest. It just creates this vicious cycle where enmity multiplies, creating bitter enemies who wait in the shadows for their next chance to strike. But forgiveness, it extinguishes that fire instantly. It ends the enmity right then and there, and often leaves the offender indebted to you for life. It is literally the ultimate tool for social harmony.
Then we have non-stealing. The text outlines a very strict karmic rule here. Basically, as you sow, so shall you reap. When someone relies on unearned wealth, meaning they're stealing the fruits of another person's hard work, it creates an unfair advantage. This inevitably breeds vices, fuels sinful desires, and ultimately leads to complete societal chaos. Maintaining any kind of social order absolutely requires that we rely solely on our own honest labor.
Closely tied to this is the pillar of non-anger. And the source text really does not mince words here. Anger is described outright as a demonic act. It causes immense physical and mental damage. Let's face it, humans are flawed. We make mistakes. But our true duty when someone messes up is to guide them back to the right path, not to burn them down with our rage. Dropping anger is an absolutely crucial pillar of Dharma.
Section 4. Knowledge, Intellect, and Truth.
These final three traits, intellect, buddhi, knowledge, vidya, and truth, satya, are our higher-level tools. They are what allow us to act with deep foresight and align ourselves with ultimate reality. They ensure our actions aren't just well-intentioned, but that they actually work in the real world.
So the crucial point here is understanding the difference between merely reading and actually knowing. The text argues that just memorizing books is not true knowledge. True knowledge is the ability to analyze every aspect of a situation, to deeply understand cause and effect, and to calmly choose your correct duty without panicking. It's the practical wisdom you need to handle real-world crises.
And anchoring all of this, the whole shebang, is truth. Mahatma Kabir is quoted here saying, "There is no penance equal to truth." Truth is the very axis of all Dharma. The text goes as far as to say that adopting truth in your daily behavior is so profoundly transformative that it practically erases the difference between humans and the divine. No way, right? But that's how highly it's regarded.
Section 5. The Universal Path to Peace. Let's move on and see how this all builds into a complete worldview. Because what we've just looked at isn't just some fluffy spiritual theory. The text actually calls these 10 pillars a complete sociology for humanity. By following them, we ensure harmony across every single level of existence: physical, mental, economic, social, and political. It is quite literally a master framework for running a civilization. And the best part? It's a universal umbrella. It recognizes no boundaries of race, no borders of countries, no divisions of color. The source text reminds us of the profound pain caused by sectarianism and presents this universal Dharma as the ultimate refuge for a tired, divided world. It replaces narrow hatred with a true empire of love and sympathy. So I want to leave you with a question to ponder. Look around at all the conflicts we face today. If we, as a global society, stripped away our external labels and simply adopted this universal sociology, committing entirely to patience, forgiveness, and truth, would our world's deep divides simply disappear? It's a powerful thought, and it all starts with mastering the self. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and keep learning.